Hey, we're so excited about you guys being here with us with this Leading Through with Billy Island. We have leadership talks. We drop them the first Friday of the month here on YouTube. I really want you to share this content, subscribe, get this information out, because I truly believe that it's a game changer. People are leading, and in this conflicting world, in this world that is going in a certain direction, we need leaders, young leaders. We need leaders who are pressing through, and leadership is simple. Leadership is having influence and getting people to a desired destination. And today, I'm really, really enthusiastic and pumped up about who we have here with us today. He's someone I've been knowing for right about 8 years. I'm really blown away by his leadership style, because he has a unique way of getting people to a destination. He's a barber by trade. He actually does my beard. He didn't do it this week, but he does my beard, and he also influences the next generation. And Ricky Trevino, I want to introduce you, but not only do I want to introduce you, I want to let you know how much you mean to me, how long we've been connecting. It's
Yes,
mind-blowing, because time just flies by. I think it was about 2 years ago, if that, you told me that you had a real strong heart and a passion for the next generation. And I believe that that's a big, big need now in 2023. I was looking at some statistics the other day, and it says 15.7% of children from the age of 5 to 15 have a suicide plan.
Suicidal plan.
So 15%. I mean, this is a plan, not the thought, just a plan.
They already have it written out. They already have steps into going in that direction. And to be honest, man, first I want to say I appreciate you for taking the time to interview me for something like this. Secondly, last night that was actually somewhat of our discussion in our youth night. Live student ministries, Wednesday nights here at the Well Community Church. Our topic was depression. And so I did share this statistic with them. I was like, and this is only, the plans or the children that have been recorded. Because I know a lot of the statistics are, we don't, as a society, I think we may have an idea through numbers, but I don't think that counts every single suicidal plan that's out there.
Yeah, that's right. Those are the people that we actually talk to. What about the people we haven't talked to? And just to formally introduce him as well, he's our next generation minister. What he does is, in our church, I'm a pastor of a church called the Well Community Church. And so he deals with the next generation. He does it in such a way that's unique, I would say. I would really go ahead and say that you have a unique style. And I have a few questions here, and I really want to ask you, in your own words, how would you even describe your leadership style? How would you describe it?
So first I want to say, I'm going to start off by saying every single person has a quality of being a leader, whether it be a negative quality or a positive quality. You're leading someone or yourself in a positive direction or in a negative direction. And so for me, I believe that through leadership, there has to be some form of, originality. You have to be genuine. And then obviously people that you work alongside of or people that you're in relationships with, I believe that it has to be positivity in that, because, you can lead me farther than I can lead myself, because you've been down a similar road to me, And so now I feel like I'm able to lead these kids in a way that steers them from negative lifestyles, because I've been in those negative lifestyles, and just in the right direction, in the right direction.
Wow, that's so good. So good. I want to unpack that a little bit. You said so much and it was so powerful. You said that you're going to lead no matter what.
You're going to lead no matter what.
Negative
Or positive.
That's so good, because I think so many people out there may say that I'm not a leader. I'm not affecting anyone. But with this statement that Ricky's saying is, and I believe wholeheartedly that you're leading someone no matter what, whether it's in the negative or the positive. And then there's something else I just want to extract out of what you said because it's so powerful. Originality or authenticity. That's one of my key phrases here on this leadership podcast is, keep it real, because many times keeping the real seals the deal.
And then one thing that it always clicks in my mind when I hear originality or authenticity is God can't bless who you pretend to be.
My God. So true. I mean, I think that when people feel the need to mimic or pretend, it strips you away from the opportunity to give people the very person that God designed for you to give to the other person. The originality and authenticity, no one can be you. And so I think that sometime in this world where it's saturated with social media, saturated with high-speed internet, and we're always seeing others on the forefront, these influencers on all these platforms. And sometimes people want to be others because they see their success in how they're conducting themselves. And God may have it already designed for you in a totally different way, totally different manner. And so authenticity, originality, I love it. And so you would describe your leadership sounds like is just, being you and keeping it real, right?
Being me. For me, that's what works the best, man. I feel like I'm able to lead these kids because it starts off with actually being relational. Communication is a big thing. And so if I wasn't me and I pretended to be someone else, if I pretended to be you, if I pretended to be Tony, whoever, if I pretended to be that person, like, kids see that. Kids see that. They're going to call you out on it.
Wow.
That's just what they do. And so being genuine, man, really just influence, authenticity, keeping it real.
So good, so good. I want to talk about your workplace because I myself, I didn't have it by trade, you guys, but I cut hair as a barber for about 15 years.
You cut my hair one time.
Okay. I don't remember that, did I? Wow.
Yeah, you cut my hair one time.
Hopefully I did a good job, right? But you're a barber, and being in a barber shop, just talk to me about how you use your leadership skill in your workplace in being a barber and having someone in that seat for 30 to 45 minutes, tops maybe an hour. How do you use your leadership skill in your workplace?
So I'm going to start off by saying some of the skills that you use in that work setting is first and foremost, the main thing for me is communication.
Yes.
Accountability, time management, problem solving or conflict resolution.
And you do all that right there while they're in the barber chair.
All of that within a 35 to 45 minute time frame.
Unpack that. Tell me how that goes. How
so, man, when I first started doing that, it was challenging because, it's what I mean by challenging is when you're an upcoming barber, things are moving slow motion.
Okay.
And so as time progresses or as time goes on, you start to get more busy. And so now you have to learn how to manage your time. If for what I do outside of work, one key thing is learning how to balance it. And so scheduling is important. Conflict and resolution could be, somebody walks in, you have somebody in the chair, like how do you respond to that type of reaction? The client that just walked in may be like in a hurry or in a rush, and you have to figure out a way, you have to be tactful in how you approach or communicate. Well, hey man, I'm sorry I'm a little bit behind, but guess what? You're next,
And so if someone sits in your chair, don't mean to interrupt you,
No,
but
you're
if
all right.
someone sits in your chair and you have them for that 45 minutes, like you said communication, I just want to kind of dive a little deeper into that. I mean, I know when I sit in your chair, I feel very acknowledged. I feel like you're concerned about me. You talk to me. You ask me questions, how my day's been. How does that get you into a place where you possibly can lead them to, to a place of destiny, possibly into God's plan for their life, possibly into God's house, maybe lead them to, even impact their family in a different way? How do you lead them in that way? Because that's a skill that I see that you utilize, and I just want to see,
So
how does that work for you?
again, this comes back to being yourself. I don't force my beliefs on anyone. Literally just taking the time to get to know someone, taking the time to ask questions, and then you can kind of like judge, oh, this person just wants to get his hair cut quietly, or this person is opening up. And you can base that within, the first 5 minutes of a haircut.
Yeah.
And so really just kind of seeing more or less through questions or where a person's at, in life or for that day, for that moment, and then just kind of taking that. And to be honest, it opens up doors, or I should say it makes a person curious as to why I would care so much about what they have going on.
Wow. Reminds me of a John C. Maxwell quote. He says, "No one cares how much you know until they know how much you care." and so that is so good. I'm still blown away by how, just from someone sitting down with you, you relating with them, you connecting with them, you communicating with them. Keyword, you being yourself.
Being myself.
How it impacts people. And I want to take this time out to make sure that people that are listening know that you being yourself and you showing up every day could be a game changer for someone else. It could really seal the deal for someone else. Being kind, hearing people out, communicating with them. Because I don't know if you've known, I've come with a busy schedule sometime, and when I sit down in your chair, it's one of the most therapeutic times, of my day, hearing you talking to me, relating to me, connecting with me. And whether you know it or not, you actually led me, and that was beautiful.
And a lot of the times it's another big thing. There's a lot of big things, right? But another big thing is accommodation.
Okay.
Because you don't know whether a person's lifestyle is so busy or what they have going on. Like, you just taking that time out to take care of them, just that is a simple gesture of like, dang, this dude really does care about me. He cares about my time. Yeah. Or he cares. That's really what it comes down to.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. And it's so needed with this next generation. And I see your heart for the next generation. And with this current generation, what do you think would be some common practices in leading them? What is some things that we could do as a whole? Because there's this complaint. Mm-hmm. Xers, maybe even baby boomers, there's this complaint, and I'm not knocking the Xers or the baby boomers, but it's this complaint about millennials or Gen Zs that they're lazy, they don't want to work, they're always complaining, they're so self-consumed, they don't think. But yet I see this next generation is some world changers. I see them as world changers. I see them as individuals that actually could turn everything upside down with this technology that they are really able to utilize better than me. I'm just like this old guy. But I learned so much, and I see how they're creative and they have such a great knack for change and adaptability. And so one of the things I wanted to know is what do you think we can do in order to reach or lead this next generation?
Conversation. Conversation, man. And the reason I say that, effective communication is how you really make an impact. like you mentioned a minute ago, you said this generation is really focused on phones, social media, and so we really don't know what they have going on. And so what I've learned through being able to serve and lead the youth is that a lot of these kids, like, they don't really share outside of themselves. Like, if they have a sibling, their sibling doesn't even know what's going on. And so for me, conversation is man, it's very important.
Yeah,
Very important.
I've heard something, you said it earlier, but I want to reiterate, like asking questions.
Yeah, man.
I think that if we could ask more questions, we could learn more.
Absolutely.
And that's why I have questions for you today, because I want to learn. I want to pick your brain because it seems like you're being effective in this area. And so I think if we could ask more questions, obviously we'll have more answers and we'll know this generation and where they're at,
Right.
instead of making a big assumption. You may not know where they're at.
And then another thing I would say is to have a listening ear. What does a listening ear look like? Sometimes it may not even be words that are being said. It may be actions that are taking place. So you
Listening to someone's actions. Wow.
It sounds weird,
But it's so profound.
it kind of speaks for itself. Like listening to somebody's actions. How do you listen to somebody's actions? Well, you're kind of watching, obviously, with your eyes, but at the same time, man, kids and teenagers and young adults, they speak through actions, emotions, and just through things they do on a daily basis.
Right.
Just
right.
in that itself, you just have to always, I guess you could say, watch.
And the reason why I know that's true, I had a friend, we had a real good conversation a couple of days ago, and he told me, and I'm sad to say that he said, I was telling you all along, like you just didn't pick up on it.
Right.
And it crushed my heart, and I had to apologize and say, man, I missed the
Absolutely.
mark. I don't want to be a person that someone's crying out, and this next generation is really crying out for help.
Right.
But, they may not say it out their mouth, but their actions
Right.
is actually saying it. And that's so good, Ricky.
I'm gonna add one thing to this. This is one of the reasons why having a relationship with God is important, and I'm gonna throw that in there because, as human beings, everything that's going on around us, we get distracted.
Yeah.
We're distracted. A phone rings. Guess what? We're gonna look that way. Somebody walks through the door. We're gonna look that way. Like our attention span as human beings, a lot of the times, isn't where we would like it to be. And so, having a personal relationship with God, that's something that you can leave, to Him. Like, hey, man, I know you can help me with this. And then having a personal relationship with God, for that specific reason, it kind of helps you stay focused on what goal you're trying to obtain or attain. And yeah, man.
Yeah, leading through definitely hinges on you being anchored. And you and I,
Absolutely.
we both know that anchor for us is Jesus Christ.
Yes.
And I know we don't press the religious, angle on our followers and subscribers, but the reality is we truly do believe that the Lord Jesus Christ is what anchors us. And what really is on my heart right now is just a simple question, but it may help me, help other people. Why are you so passionate about the next generation? Because it seems like it drives you. I sit and watch you. You really, really go to the next level to the extent that some wouldn't go to reach the next generation. I remember having a conversation with you, and I could sense you knew this was beyond just a job. This was a calling. This is a higher purpose. And you passionately told me that you want to reach kids that had a similar background like you. And if you want to even dive into that, feel
Absolutely.
free. But why are you so passionate about the next generation
So
and leading them?
it will start with my background and my upbringing. First off, I was raised in a family, good upbringing, but it was all women. And so as I gotten older, I realized that it's important for a mother to be around. It's important for a father to be around. And so one big thing for me is I don't want to feel like a child or a student or a young adult is missing out on that fatherly figure, on that male figure. Because one thing I do tell my students is, look, I'm not your mom or your dad, which a lot of the times they want to, you can get in trouble by them. I'm not here to get you in trouble. I'm here to help you.
Right.
And so I take that stance. But because of my upbringing and not having my father around, really, man, I don't want another child or student or young adult to have negative direction in their life. Let me be the example of that. I've had my downs, and I just want to ultimately steer them away from a lifestyle I know or a road I know that's there.
And you want to touch that a little bit more, if you don't mind. Like, you had your downs. Like, if you want to explain,
Absolutely.
like, how, one, what was your downs? If you can explain and elaborate, if you don't mind on that.
Not at all.
And then two, like, what was it that brought you out of this? And now you have a passion. You're saying, I don't want anyone to go down that road, to go down the road that I went in.
So my downs, or the negative road that I took, was a lifestyle, a drug addiction lifestyle. And so by choice. It wasn't forced on me. It was obviously it's even around now, but that's something that I got caught up in by the decisions that I was making, by the people I chose to hang around with. And so I lived a lifestyle of drug addiction for, man, I could say a little bit, 12 years, 13 years.
12, 13 years of drug addiction.
Drug addiction. And so I got to a place where I literally was like, man, I'm tired of this. I'm not gaining anything from this. I'm being selfish. Okay. I just care about myself. And so it got to a point where, and again, just like you mentioned a minute ago, I'm not forcing my beliefs on anybody, but for me, I literally, one day I got to a point in my life where I said, God, if you're real, like, you won't let me die. Not that I had a suicide plan, not that, I was going to do it myself, but I was to the point where I didn't want to live anymore. I didn't know what that looked like. Because I wasn't going to do it myself. But yeah, man, it just got to I got to a place where I literally had no choice but to see if God was for real.
Yeah.
And so it led me to our recovery center. It led me to our recovery center, the Well Recovery Center, 4419 Hamilton Avenue.
Shameless plug, but we'll take that one.
And so, yeah, man, there I had an encounter. This was in 2016. I had an encounter with God, man. And I still battled because I was wanting to do what I wanted to do. And even with those battles, it showed me, like, getting locked up. And for me, that's what it always ended up being locked up, getting to a place where I had no other choice than to cry out to God, and isolated, away from everybody, away from my family. And it was just a picture of, like, look, so every time you do what you want to do, this is what happens. Like, it was kind of like an ultimatum, I guess you could say, but God doesn't give ultimatums, Like, God loves us. He forgives us. And so it was just a picture of, like, bro, do you really want to spend the rest of your life in prison? Or do you just want to give your life up and serve God and make a difference? And so, yeah, man, I got to that point in my life, and I was like, bro, for me, it only makes sense to help somebody else. The way God loves us, the way Jesus continues to show us love day in and day out, it only makes sense to direct somebody away from that path that I was living to a path to success.
So good. I mean, this is golden. Your story, your hunger and desire to reach the next generation because of your path, that you took, and now that God has you on this path is so amazing. I'm blown away that I even get an opportunity to hear these stories, be a part of these stories. If you had something to say, if you could tell the people out there, the next generation, what would you say? What would be the most important thing or few words you have for the next generation? What would you say to them?
You're not alone. You're not alone. I say that because, I mean, man, I remember how I felt as a kid. Like, I don't think I was ever able to really express myself to anyone growing up. You know, yeah, I would cry or this, that, and the other, but I was never really, truly able to express what was really going on inside of me. And so I would love for, you know, our next generation to know that there's somebody always listening, man, that they're not alone. They're not alone.
Wow. That's key, because I think that's where we get the suicide desires, the depression, the anxiety, is feeling like you're alone.
Yep.
What advice would you give us as we close this up? What advice would you give us, our generation, to helping out this next generation, the next gen out there? What advice would you give us to be able to reach them? Because you have a passion for it, you do it well. What would be your advice to the crowd out there to reach the next generation? Just add a little bit more wisdom to what they already have.
I'm gonna go back to what I said a minute ago. Listen, effective communication, and lastly, I would have to say, listening and communicating would be my top things, my top, you know, pointers. But really, man, just again, it's gonna revert to letting somebody know that they're not alone, man.
Yeah, that's
that
so
they're not
good.
alone.
So good. So one of the things he said, listening and effective communicating. And I'm going to go ahead and add this one that he said earlier that really got me, is being yourself, original.
Absolutely.
So as we close this up, make sure that you share this with anyone you know. It would mean the world to me if you could get it out on whatever platform you listen to us, YouTube, share it on your social media pages. We thank you so much, because in a world that's always going in a direction that may be negative, we got truth, transparency, and why? Because, man, keeping it real is one thing that can seal the deal. Thank you so much for joining us.